crafty friends. Happy Friday and welcome to Flosstube. How are you today? My name is Jessie and this is mislaidpages. Welcome. If you're new here, hi, how are you? If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I've gotten a lot of comments lately from folks saying how much they appreciate my videos, how much they enjoy it, and I want you all to know that I love the fact that you're enjoying my videos. Sometimes I wonder, sometimes I wonder if people are really, liking it as much as I like doing it and that kind of thing. So it's always really nice to have that, that little bit of affirmation. So thank you all who have commented one way or another to say that you enjoy watching my videos. It means a lot to me. It helps me stay motivated to keep doing this if I know that you all are out there enjoying it and supporting it and that kind of stuff. So thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Let's see. So this has been a week. It's been a week. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, talk about last weekend, because last weekend was really nice, and then we'll move forward from there. So a little bit of life update. So last Saturday, the reason last Saturday was really nice was because Adam and I, it was one of his weekends off, and we went down to a couple of the local businesses here. The local coffee shop was doing this tasting flight of cheesecakes, Star Wars themed cheesecakes and Star Wars themed coffees. So we got up early so that we could go down at 8 o'clock and get a flight of cheesecakes and some coffee, which was really decadent and really nice. And at first I didn't want to get up early. I also wasn't sure how crowded it was going to be because it was a limited thing. But we're kind of friends with the guy who owns the coffee shop. He also happens to own the escape room here in Hopewell, and so we had kind of gotten the inside scoop on how many there would be and when they were going to start serving and all that sort of stuff. So we got up early so we could go get cheesecake for breakfast, which was fantastic. And then consequently we were in downtown early enough to wait for Wonder City Bakery to open up. So we were the first ones in line for Wonder City at 9 o'clock. And so we got some goodies to bring home. And once we did get home, we did all kinds of like productive stuff together and individually. And then I got to do some cross stitching, and he watched, I can't remember what he's watching, a Kame Ga Kill, or I don't think he started Castlevania yet. I think he was finishing a Kame Ga Kill, which is an anime, for those of you not familiar. So he did his thing, I did my thing, and then in the meantime, I set up a crock pot with chicken and mushroom stew, sort of, that we had over rice. And once that was ready, we sat down and we ended up binging the entire available season of Jupiter's Legacy, because that's how we do on a wild Saturday night. So yeah, and Jupiter's Legacy was interesting. The costumes really put me off, to be honest, but I'm not familiar with the graphic novel that the story is based on, and I have a feeling that it was a stylistic choice based on how the comic book was made and the art in the comic book. And I have to kind of back off of my aesthetic things when it comes to that, because if that's what the costumes look like in the comic book, and they're trying to stay true to the graphic novel and the comic and the original artwork, then I kind of just have to be okay with that, because that's an artistic choice to stay true to the original art, and so that is what it is. I didn't care for it, but the show was interesting. It was very interesting, sometimes laborious, but it was interesting. If you're not a fan of those types of shows that are doing constant flashbacks and going back and forth between time periods, you're not going to love this. But I will say they do some visual things to kind of help you tell which timeline, which time frame you're in. So there is that. And there's a lot of really interesting questions left. The only thing that I wasn't super thrilled about is that it's one of those shows where the entire first season is basically set up. You are learning about how things got to where they are, but a lot of it is just we'll tell you about what's really going on next season. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, so that was Saturday. Sunday, I spent the day mostly doing working on some stuff for my patrons. I think I mentioned last week or the week before that I was releasing some new items for the shop to my patrons before bringing them to the Etsy shop. I'm hoping to bring them to the Etsy shop this week. I've been so thankful for my patron support. Some of the items went, well, actually pretty much all the items went like gangbusters, and I'm very, very happy about that. It makes me feel good about releasing them to the shop as a whole. So I worked a lot on getting that stuff together, getting it ready, getting invoices ready. It was a very business-centered Sunday, which tends to be the case for me a lot. Is sometimes Saturday is my free day, sometimes Sunday is my free day, but usually one or the other is a business day for me, as far as getting shop stuff together. So, but it was an enjoyable Sunday doing that, because a significant portion of that was spent listening to Michelle G of Bendy Stitchy, listening to her coffee and chat live, and chatting with the folks there. So that was fun. It always makes work easier if you have something fun to listen to while you're doing that. So that was the weekend. And then this week has just been work. Lots and lots of work. We are gearing up towards the end of the fiscal year. So that's some of it. But actually that's a lot of it, because as we gear up towards the end of the fiscal year, we're also wrapping up all of our current campaigns, getting ready to start new campaigns. So we're working on calendars, we're working on all kinds of stuff, getting ready for next year's activities. And some of that is further, not complicated necessarily, but there's additional things that we have to think about and consider now that mask mandates and other COVID-19 mitigation measures are being lifted here in Virginia and around the country. So lots of things to think about, lots of things to deal with. So work has been work. That's been where a lot of my brain has been this week. So I'm happy that we're just about into the weekend. I'm so happy that we're just about to the weekend, especially because this is one of what I consider my free weekends. So Adam is working overnights this weekend, and that means that that I am up to my own devices the entire weekend. So I'm all about it. I'm all about it. You know, not that I can't do that any other time, because I do, but it's what you get it, right? I mean, you folks who have kids or who have partners or, you know, relationships or even roommates, you understand the freedom that comes with knowing that you can do whatever you want to without having to worry about somebody else's schedule. So it has nothing to do with anything but the fact that I don't have to deal with anybody's schedule but mine, and I'm very excited. So, so that's me this week. I hope your week has been going well. If it's not, I hope it improves. So shall we talk about some happy mail? Let's talk about some happy mail. So this is actually cross-stitch related happy mail for once, which doesn't happen often. But back when Jenny Lawson was announcing her new book, Broken in the Best Possible Way, she put up a contest, or not a contest, it was a giveaway. Yeah, I didn't have to do anything special. I just had to show that I pre-ordered the book, which I had already I pre-ordered the audio the minute it was available, because I love her audiobooks. And it's so funny because she says she hates her own voice, which most of us hate our own voice. But I love listening to her read her own work. I just love listening. I like listening to her talk in general, except for the way that she says her like G's. But that's a personal thing. And it has something to do with that area of the country, because it's where words that end in G sound more like words that end in K. So think, like when she's saying thing, or when people from that region are saying thing, it actually sounds more like think, because there's a k sound on the end. Anyway, that's completely my thing, as totally beside the point. And welcome to Jesse's weird things. Anyway, so there was a giveaway, because and part of this was because while Jenny was going through her treatment for anxiety and depression, I can't remember what the acronym is, but it has to do with magnets and targeted therapy to your brain. She talks about this in great detail in at least one chapter, if not multiple chapters, of her book. So I'm not going to try to explain it myself. She goes into detail, and it makes perfect sense the way she tells it. I just can't remember exactly what the details are. But the point is, while she was going through this treatment, it was hours and hours of loud banging noise around and on her head. And I think all the patients were encouraged to work on a craft or a hobby. I think they were specifically asked to do something creative. So she decided to do embroidery and cross stitch while she was sitting in these treatments to give herself something to do. And so she worked with, I think she did some of her own patterns for embroidery, just like freehand embroidery, but she also worked together with Subversive Cross Stitch to create some charts that she then decided she would give away to folks who had pre-ordered her book. And she was also doing an extra giveaway for a full kit. Pardon me. So I actually won. And it wasn't just a full kit. It was a full kit and a signed copy of the book. So those of you who've been here for a while, and if you're counting, you may realize this is the third signed copy of this book that I have now received, because I got a signed copy with each of the 2 virtual book tour dates that I signed up for, and then I won this copy as well. So I have 2 signed copies of Jenny Lawson's newest book that I will be trying to donate for a charity auction, or not trying. I'm going to be communicating with Michelle over at Bendy Stitchy because she has a wider audience than I do, and she does charity auctions fairly regularly. So I'm going to work with her to see how we can best leverage these for charity. But essentially, I have 2 copies. They're going to go up for charity auctions. Once I have more information about the specifics of that, I will definitely let you all know. But yeah, so I'm gonna pay this stuff forward to other folks who might enjoy reading her book because it's fantastic. I always recommend the audio because I have trouble sticking with paper books anymore, which is my personal thing. But there are a lot of folks who still prefer to actually physically read the books, and they are signed, so they're collector's items. But anyway, so in addition to that, I got this little kit. It says it comes with the embroidery floss. I haven't opened it. It must be in between the pattern. So this chart is done by Subversive Cross Stitch. It says, all my best friends are books and cats. So cross stitch kit created for Jenny Lawson. So that's the kit that I won. It does come with the hoop, and it says it also comes with embroidery floss and 2 needles. But like I said, those must be, yeah, I think I can see them. They're actually stuffed between the pages. So I'm like, there's no floss in there, but I'm sure it's in there. But yeah, so I won this. I won a thing. That's pretty awesome. So that's my happy mail. I just got that. I want to say I got that after recording on Friday, or I got it on Saturday. I definitely, it's so funny because usually as soon as I finish recording and getting everything uploaded, something awesome comes in the mail that I wish I'd had to talk about in the video. So anyway. Before I get into the whips, I actually do have one quick thing I want to talk about. It is cross stitch related. Give me just a second. So one of my lovely viewers had asked about my hoops because, oh, I totally forgot that I had this sitting up here. Oopsie. So surprise. Anyway, so one of my lovely viewers asked about my hoops because they were noticing that lately, especially lately, and you can tell up here. So the last couple of pieces I've been working on, I have been using embroidery hoops instead of Q-snaps or skull frames. Now, the quick answer as to what I prefer is it depends. It all depends. So I use, just like I'm a multi-craftual person, I'm a multi-tool person. So I don't have a hard and fast rule about what I use when. I do like Q-snaps a lot because they are one of the best ways, especially if you get the Q-snap brand Q-snaps, they're one of the best ways to keep the fabric really taut, and it's great for working on things that you know are going to be square or rectangular, because it gives you that square and rectangular shape, which is something that I like. Q-snaps are also really great for your like medium to large pieces because you can often have your Q-snap size in accordance with how large your chart is, how large your design is going to be, so that you don't have to move the fabric around. Because I am one of those people, I hate moving the fabric. Once I put it in a frame, it lives in the frame until I'm finished. Some of you are cringing. I apologize. That's how I live my life. You don't have to live your life the same way. But I don't move fabric. I'm not one of those that worries over much about the fabric getting damaged. I mean, I have pieces that have literally been in frames for years and have not had any issues. It can be difficult to get the wrinkles out of cotton fabrics like Ada, but that's kind of true regardless of what you do with cotton fabrics. You really need like a hot iron and some steam if possible, and you have to be super careful. If you're using DMC, it's not a problem because DMC doesn't tend to have issues with running. Doesn't tend to. It can, but cottons are just notoriously difficult to get the wrinkles out of. Anyway, totally beside the point. So yeah, I mean, I do use Q-snaps for larger pieces, but for smaller pieces, pretty much anything that has an overall size of 10 inches or less, if it will fit within a 10-inch hoop or less, I'll use a hoop instead of a Q-snap. And part of that is just because it's smaller. I can cut the fabric down a little bit smaller, which means that whatever extra I have, I can put away and keep safe and clean and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and then the really big pieces, now that I have lock scroll frames, I put the really big pieces on those wooden lock scrolls. There are none behind me right now because they're too big. They don't fit well on that shelf behind me, so they're actually over there. But yeah, so wide pieces, really long pieces. Eventually, because I have up here, I have my Dark Queen and I have my Pandemic and I have my Gamer Nouveau all still in Q-snaps, but at some point those will move to frames. Scroll frames, lock scroll frames, because they are massive. But because the frames are massive, it's harder to store them where they can stay clean. The Q-snaps are a little bit easier in that respect. Anyway. So each of the different types of frames has its own pros and cons. Hoops like this, if you don't mind moving the fabric a lot, are really great because you can focus on just one part of the chart at a time. If you're doing small charts, these are great because the whole thing fits inside, so on and so forth. Whereas Q-snaps are great for larger pieces, but maybe you don't like taking the Q-snap on and off. I mean, some people have one Q-snap and they just put their projects on and off all the time. I'm the kind of person who wants 400 million Q-snaps because my fabrics live in their frames. So, and then scroll frames can be really fantastic for how much real estate you have. Width-wise, but they can be difficult and unwieldy to stitch with. So I mean, they all have their pluses and minuses. Now, when I am using hoops, I keep flashing this at you. This particular hoop, and all the hoops I have, are sorry, it's just making sure I'm not lying to you. So these are all Loops and Threads brand, which is a Michaels proprietary brand. And the reason that I get these, they look like regular old hoops, and I don't know if you can see, but the big difference here is this ridge on the inside hoop. So I don't know if you can, there you go, you can kind of tell from that angle. But there's a ridge. It's maybe, I don't know, 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. So it's not huge, but it fits into a corresponding ridge on the inside of the hoop. I think you can see that. So this fits inside that, nice and neat, and then you screw it down and everything's all hunky-dory. The reason I love these so much is because that little ridge is all the difference in how well your fabric stays inside the hoop. It helps you get your fabric very taut. It helps your fabric stay taut. It doesn't slip around. What brand is it? It's a really popular brand. I want to say it's Boye, B-O-Y-E, or something similar, is another standard brand, but the hoops are completely flat. So the inside hoop is flat on both the inside and the outside, as is the outer hoop. They're flat all the way around. And you know, that's great if you don't mind loose floppy fabric, but if you're like me and you need it to be taut like a drum, you need something more like this. So I just wanted to address that in case anybody else had that question. And sometimes I'm not great with the writing the words, so I figured I would just talk about it. So yeah, these are loops and threads from Michaels. They're the only embroidery hoops I use now, because of that inner ridge that helps keep the fabric where I need it to be. So having said that, let's talk about a piece that's in a hoop. And I don't know if you can hear this. That's how tight my fabric is, because I need to be able to hear the drum beat on it. Yeah, anyway, so I have one whip to show you this week. I actually don't have a ton of stuff to show you, but I have a lot of stuff to talk to you about today, with you today. Words are fun. So let's get into the whip, and then we'll get into the plans. Excuse me, sorry, I'm congested this morning. Allergies are fun. The honeysuckle is in bloom, and it is like really messing with me. So I started this piece last week, and I haven't been able to put it down. So this is irises. This is a piece from Smart Cross Stitch, and let's see if I remember and have time. I will. Let me try. Okay, there. I've left room to put. If I have time, I'll put the stock image up next to me. But this is where I am so far. So I am officially finished with the main iris. This is about 66% of the first page of the chart. So the way this chart is set up in the PDF, there's the first page, which has probably I don't know, 60 to 75% of the full design. So the entire height of the iris is on the first page, and then probably to about here on the side of the iris is on the first page. So a little bit of this is from the second page, but the main iris is the focal point of the first page. And then there's maybe 20 rows down here on the second page, no, that's the third page. And then same with the fourth page, is like 20 rows of stitches. And then there's, you know, over maybe to here or so, maybe a little bit farther, there's a secondary smaller row iris on this side on the second page. Words, y'all. So anyway, all of that is to say that I have finished 66% of the first page, which means that I have probably finished, I don't know, maybe a half of the overall stitches, maybe a third to half of the overall stitches. I feel like it's closer to half. I haven't actually added everything up because I haven't put the bottom two charts into Pattern Keeper yet, so I don't know the actual stitch counts. But the first page has 2,800 stitches, the second page has 2,100 stitches, and about 19% on the second page. So I'm doing pretty well. I had been contemplating, I'll move this over here now. I've been contemplating trying to make this another May finish. There's two issues with that. One, probably I'm like shooting too high for that. I think that's probably a little more challenging than I necessarily need to deal with. I do have one other new start that I would like to do this month, so that might be a little overzealous. We'll have to see. But that also, to say that it's a finish, I would need to do the back stitching as well, and I'm pretty certain that I can't get the cross stitching and the back stitching finished within the month of May. I don't think that that's a possibility for me. So what I might do is move on to the second iris and see if I can at least complete the irises in May. I think that might be a good goal. But essentially, I kind of want to keep working on this until I don't want to work on it anymore. So far, I haven't felt like I don't want to work on it. So yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I'm definitely going to be switching gears in June. So I wish I could get this frog out of my throat. I'm definitely going to be switching gears in June. So at the very least, this will have to be put away by the end of May 31st. Wherever it is, it's going to have to be done because I have too much stuff planned for June. As much as I want to just finish this piece because it's so awesome. So anyway, I think a lot of my motivation for this is, one, I love irises. Two, it's been really enjoyable to stitch on this. I like how the color is kind of bouncing in and out. It's like boom, boom. Yeah, there we go. I apologize if that's getting on your nerves. But it's been a really enjoyable stitch because it feels like painting with floss. The way that I've been filling in the colors and stuff, and the way that the image is sort of appearing out of nothing has just been really like meditative. I've really enjoyed it. And also, I've talked about this before, but irises make me think of my mom, and so I guess it's kind of making me feel close to her while I'm working on it. So the idea that I'm sitting in the craft room that used to be her room, I'm sitting in her space, doing this creative thing that makes me think of her, it just feels very zen and, you know, connected and that kind of stuff. So I think that's why it's hard for me to put it down. But I also think it's unrealistic to try to force myself to stick with it until it's finished. We'll see. I'll stick with it until it doesn't feel good anymore. I think that's probably a good rule for cross stitch. Stitch until it doesn't feel good. And when it stops feeling good, either not stop stitching altogether, but, you know, take a break from stitching, or take a break from stitching the thing that's not making you feel good. Anyway, it's making me feel real good right now. So I plan on doing lots more work on this weekend, unless my mood changes and I feel like I need to work on something else. So that's the stitching that I've done since we talked last, which is a lot of stitching for me, really. Pretty much when I haven't been working, I've been stitching on that. That's been my stress relief this week. Like I said, it feels very zen to sit here and take a color and fill it in and see the iris blooming in front of my eyes. It's been really nice. I can't wait to do like it won't exactly be a time lapse kind of thing, but I've been taking pictures of my progress as I go. So I'm hoping to put those into a slideshow type thing. Excuse me. And I think that's going to look really cool. So, okay, deep breath. I get so excited and I talk so fast that I run out of breath. Okay, so that's the whip. That's the only whip. That's all I've worked on since last week. It's been the center of my cross stitching life. So it is what it is. Let's talk about, I guess we'll talk about plans. I have so many plans. So these are all June plans, because it's still May and we still have more than a full week in May, but my brain is like June. So this is, I'm just going to jump on the train and ride it until the wheels fall off, I guess. One more note about WhipGo before I start talking about future plans. So I think I've pretty much decided not to bother pulling out Grimm's Fairy Tales this month. I'm not feeling it. I have a bunch of other stuff going. I'm getting into the new start mode and the working on other things mode. So I think I'm just going to call it a wash. And as I said at the beginning of the month, I've already done 1,000 stitches on that chart, or on that piece. And 1,000 stitches was my total goal for the year. So, and that also doesn't mean I can't pull it out later in the year, which I probably will. I'm just not going to work on it this month. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I've done more than I needed to do already. So if I do more on it later this year, it's totally fine. I'm going to count that square as one because I've already stitched that stuff. I've already stitched that goal. So I'm going to call it good. And we'll see what, let's see, next week, Thursday, I think should be the new draws for June. So I'm really curious to see how June's draws will work into my June plans, because I have so many plans for June. It's going to be busy. So yeah, now let's talk about plans. So WhipGo will happen somehow in June. We'll see what the goals are. It's entirely possible that I will put a pause on WhipGo in June and work on those goals later. We'll see. We'll see. Because I was super motivated to just work on stuff I already had, but now I'm in this space after talking so much about I don't want to do any sort of like May thing because I don't want to start a bunch of new stuff. Now all of a sudden I want to start all the things. Isn't that how it always goes? I don't want to do any new starts, but now I want to start all the new starts. So, okay. I'm a Gemini. Sometimes the things that I feel today are not the same things that I feel tomorrow. It's just how it is. We just roll with it. We roll with it. So, I spent 5 months, most of 5 months, because February I started a bunch of new stuff. But I spent most of 5 months just working on things I already had. So I think it's okay. It's okay. June. Okay, so y'all already know that in June I want to start Relentless by Ink Circles. I'm gonna, if I can remember directions, I'm gonna put a picture of Relentless up here so you can see what I'm talking about. So that was an already planned new start for June. June is Pride Month. Oh, so let me tell you, okay, I'm so excited I'm getting things all out of order. So the reason I have so many new starts planned, so many plans in general for June is because June is Pride Month. Pride Month is a huge deal for me. And I don't know that I've talked about it in a big way before on the channel. Part of that is probably because I'm never sure, like I always want to be real and authentic, but I'm never sure about how much to share on my channel. But a lot of things have happened over the last year. I've spoken out about a lot of things that I wasn't sure I would or should speak out about. And so I am in a place in my life where I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to be who I am out loud. And I'm going to share with you things that I'm excited about. So I can't recall how much I've talked about this on the channel previously, but Pride Month is a big deal for me for a lot of reasons. And it's hard to express all those different reasons. So I'll try to sum it up in that I'm a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, and so is my stepkid. And so Pride Month means a lot, and I don't even know how to express all the things that it means. It means freedom for myself, but it also means freedom and acceptance for my stepkid, and that's super important to me. And it's super important to me to be a part of making the world a safer place for them, making the world a more comfortable and accepting place for them. And while it's important to do all of that stuff outside of the month of June, I also think it's really important to make a huge deal of making it all visible, at least during June. And you all may know that, Pride is not something that I express only in June, and support for LGBTQIA+ folks is not something I do just in June. But I just think it's important for us to be loud in June. June is a big deal. Pride Month is a big deal, and it's important for us to create places where people can celebrate that are outside of the like corporate capitalist structure, so and all I mean to say by that is that during Pride Month a lot of big corporations will put out all these rainbow colored things, all these pride different kinds of pride flag things, trying to get you to buy them and all that sort of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with that form of expression, buying those things and putting them out on display and carrying them around and that kind of stuff. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I would like to encourage us to support LGBTQIA+ makers and creators and other folks who are not big businesses who can benefit in a more real way from that kind of spending of money. So part of what I want to do in June, one thing I want to do, and I'll get into details here in a second, but one thing I want to do is some sales stuff with the shop, my Etsy shop, that will provide some donations to the Trevor Project, which you may recall I was supporting last year as well. I tend to continue to support the Trevor Project because not only does it supports LGBTQIA+ teens and youth from all over. They also have some focus on mental health support for BIPOC, LGBTQIA plus folks as well, like centered on people of color, Black, queer folks, and all that sort of stuff. So they help in a lot of intersectional ways, which is really, really important, because while all folks who fall into the alphabet mafia, as it were, you know, face a lot of things that cisgendered folks and heterosexual folks don't face, that those difficulties are disproportionate when that person happens to also be Black or a Pacific Islander or an Asian American or any person of color. So it's important that when we support organizations that help queer folks, we're also they also have an eye towards the additional or different difficulties that BIPOC folks who are also queer face. So, and I use queer as an all-encompassing term because LGBTQIA plus is really difficult to say over and over again. So anyway, so yeah, Pride's a big deal, and I want to offer some support myself to the Trevor Project through some sales in my Etsy shop. But one of the other things I want to do is actually supporting a non-binary designer who is supporting not only a particular artist, but also lots of trans organizations through the sale of a new chart. So I'll get to that in a second. I'm very, very excited about sharing that. So yeah, so I have a lot of plans. The first plan, like I said, is Relentless. I'll put a picture here if I haven't already. I can't remember where I am now. So yeah, so I want to stitch Relentless. This is a chart from Ink Circles. You can purchase this on Tracy Horner's website, inkcircles.com. It's specifically geared towards Pride Month. It actually has multiple gender symbols hidden throughout. It's really a fantastic chart. What I'm planning on doing with it is actually, so this is the Twisted Rainbow Silk Pack for a Northern Expressions pattern. And I'm actually planning on taking Tracy's DMC colors that Relentless is charted in and converting them to some of these colors. So I'm really excited about that. So that's one new start for June. My second new start for June, and this ties in with some stuff I'm going to do on Etsy. My second new start for June is the Twisted Rainbow Sampler. So this is kind of infamous, or maybe famous. Famous might be a better word. Rachel's been working on this since last May. So 2020 May, she started on this. And she's been talking about it a lot on her channel because she picked it back up for Stitch Mayhem, I think is the one that she's participating in. But basically everything she worked on for Mania in 2020, she's picking back up on the same day this month and stitching on it again. And she picked up the Twisted Rainbow Sampler. This particular chart is with specialty stitches. So part of it is cross stitches, but there are these bands in between the butterflies. Yeah, so the bands in between the butterflies and the flowers and stuff are actually specialty stitches. So this is charted in, there's DMC conversions as well, but this is the rainbow, the Dinky Dye Silk Pack that is specifically set up for this particular chart. So obviously I'll be using the Dinky Dyes because I love Dinky Dyes, and look at these colors. I mean, you can't go wrong with these colors. They're fantastic. So the Etsy shop tie-in here is that I'm going to be doing my best to stock up on the charts and the silks prior to June 1st. And then from June 1st to June 30th, every set that I sell, so chart and silk pack together, for every set that I sell, I will donate $10 to the Trevor Project. So the sale price for these together, I think, is for the specialty chart is $20 on its own, and the silk pack is $85, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly. So $105 for the set, and $10 of that will be donated directly to the Trevor Project. So that is something I'll be doing next month, June 1st to June 30th, hopefully June 1st. What I'm also going to do, just to let y'all know, I don't have unlimited business funds, so I will have a limited stock available as soon as possible at the beginning of the month. Once I sell out of those, I will reorder, but the listing will probably change to pre-order status, which means that it possibly could take 2 to 3 weeks to get shipped to you, just FYI. But regardless, any sale that is made on the set, and the set can also be the cross stitch only if you don't want to do specialties. So the cross stitch only kit is, or chart is, it's less expensive. I can't remember how much less expensive. So this one is $20. The cross stitch only is a little bit cheaper. The silk pack is $85. But regardless of which chart you choose, $10 of the sale of the two together will go to the Trevor Project. And that's any sale on these made between June 1st and June 30th, regardless of whether it's pre-order or ready to ship. So that's the thing that I want to do. So that's my contribution to the Trevor Project this year. These have been really popular, so I'm hoping that will yield a decent donation to the Trevor Project. The other thing I'm going to be starting just this past week, and it was kind of a whirlwind. It just showed up on my Instagram. I don't know where or how this came into my life, but I'm so happy that it did. So I'm gonna put the chart up here. I'm still backwards. I'm gonna put the chart up here, or the image of the chart up here. This is called Trans Pride Tapestry. And first and foremost, that unicorn is gorgeous, y'all. It is a fantabulous unicorn, and you will always get me with a unicorn that's like that. You will always get me with that kind of unicorn. So yeah, it totally caught my eye. It took me a second to realize that it was a trans pride unicorn. And when I realized that it was a trans pride unicorn, I was even more over the moon about it. So it turns out that this chart, this chart was designed, or the design for this chart was done by D's 20 Stitches on Instagram. So they are a non-binary designer. I think this is their first chart, but it's super fantastic. So what they did was they asked for permission from the original artist, who is, let me look at my notes. I hope I'm saying this correctly, Kari Nakken, Karinakkan. They are at Uncanny Kari. Uncanny Kar. I'll try to put all this stuff down at the bottom too. But anyway, the original art for this piece was done by Kari Nakken, and Dee went and I don't know if they're friends already or what the situation may be. Regardless, Dee obtained permission to turn that into a cross stitch and has created this gorgeous cross stitch design. And it's not fantastic enough that it's a trans pride unicorn and that the artwork is so brilliant and that the whole thing is done so well. Like, that's not enough. Dee is contributing 50% of the sales of this chart from this minute until June 30th, are going to, I want to say, like 5 different trans charities, trans organizations. I shouldn't say charities, but trans organizations that help trans people. And I'm going to put a list of those organizations because it's a lot, and they all do different things. And some of them are in Canada, where I believe Dee is, but some of them are in the US. So it's like across the board. A lot of different charities, money going to a lot of different great causes having to do with trans rights, trans health, and trans pride. And it's fantastic. So not only, so 50% of the sales are actually going back to the artist. So Dee is paying the original artist, which is a thing that we really support here on this channel. I am, Rachel has talked about this a lot on her channel. I don't talk about it as much, but I am of the exact same mind that you should always pay an artist for their work, especially when you value that artist's work. It devalues them, it devalues their work if you don't pay for their labor, if you don't pay for their artistry and all this sort of stuff. So first and foremost, Dee has every support in my book for asking the artist permission and paying the artist for the work that they have done. Thank you, Dee, for that. But then, that this is such a fantastic image for Pride Month, and it's such a, it's just, I'm just all, I'm all up in my feels about it. So, and I'm so excited to have discovered Dee. I'm so excited to have discovered Kari. So it's just this like, oh, I have so many warm fuzzies. I can't even. So yeah, so Dee is doing all of that now. On Instagram, Dee is at Dee's 20 Stitches, the number 20 stitches. I'll put that information down. You should totally check Dee out. I believe Dee has a podcast as well. I haven't checked it out myself. But anyway, so regardless, I'm just over the moon for this chart. Dee also has a couple of hashtags that they would like for folks to use when they stitch this so that they can follow everyone's progress. So I'll put those down there too, because I don't want to put text in a video. That's too much trouble, but I'll put them in the description. So those hashtags are hashtag stitch 4, the number 4 Pride 2021, and also hashtag trans Pride Tapestry. So those are the 2 hashtags Dee will be following. I am going to hashtag this because I want y'all to salve this with me. We need to do this as a stitch along, or at least a start along. For me, it's going to be a start along. It's a large chart. It's almost 200 by 200. So she's awesome. She is a woman of size, let's say. But yeah, this unicorn is beautiful. So I want to do a start along in June. I haven't decided on a specific date, but I have decided we should call it hashtag Transtastic Sal. What do you think? Hashtag Transtastic Sal, S-A-L? Okay. Y'all let me know. I think it's fabulous because this unicorn is fabulous and I love all my trans friends and Transtastic. So anyway, also other hashtags, because for Twisted Rainbow, I thought about calling it Twisted Rainbow Sal. The thing I'm concerned about, and y'all can let me know if this is silly or not, but the thing I'm concerned about is I don't want to give this idea that the rainbow for Pride is a twisted concept. I don't know if it's just me overthinking things. So I've decided I want to use hashtag don't get it twisted Sal. I think that's showing my age and my overthinking. But anyway, so that's for Twisted Rainbow, hashtag don't get it twisted Sal. And then Relentless, I wasn't real creative. So that one's just hashtag Relentless Sal. But yeah, so we're doing some hashtags in June. I've been like way all over the place with how this is happening, but it's still early days yet. So when June 1st rolls around, I'll be clearer about things. I haven't decided on dates for any of these. I'm not real great at sticking to dates for starting things. So all I know is that these 3 fantastic things are happening in June. Oh, almost forgot. So going back to the Trans Pride Tapestry. So, like I'm so excited for so many reasons. I can't even get the words out. Another thing that I'm going to do in support of that particular chart, in support of Dee, in support of all of the organizations that Dee is supporting, in addition to having already purchased my own chart, because you know, as soon as I saw that and looked at the details, I went and bought it immediately. And I know Amy was right there with me, because Amy messaged me and she was like, we have to sell this. And we absolutely do. We absolutely do. So thank you, Amy, for being on board before I even put the plan out there. But the other thing that I want to do in support of all of this wonderfulness is I'm going to do a giveaway of the Trans Pride Tapestry. I'm going to do a giveaway in 2 ways. So one is the giveaway right here in this video on this channel in the comments. So what I want you to do, if you are interested in, and I'm going to put the picture back up here. Editing Jessie is going to love me. So I'm going to put the picture back up here. If this is something that you are interested in stitching with us in the month of June, I want you to comment below Trans Pride. And you can use it in a sentence. You can just say Trans Pride. You can do whatever, you know, but comment down below Trans Pride. I'd like to stitch the Trans Pride. However you want to do it. If you want to tell me why you have Trans Pride or why you're in support of Trans Pride, whatever you want to say. Trans Pride is your all one word, TRANSPRIDE. Trans Pride is your keyword down here. And what I'm going to do is for every 10 folks who enter the giveaway, I will add another chart to give away. So if there are 10 folks who comment, I'll give away 1 chart. If there are 20 folks who comment, I will give away 2 charts, 33 charts. You get the idea here. So other rules and regulations, you must be 18. You must have filled out the Happy Mail form. Specifically, make sure you give me a good email address, because the way that you're going to get this, it's a PDF chart. The way that you're going to get this is by email from the website, which I believe is Kari's website. So you're going to get it direct. I'm going to pay for it, but you're going to get it directly from the website. So make sure you give me a good email. And also, this is not affiliated with YouTube or anybody else. It's me. It's not sponsored by anybody. It's me. So I think that's all the legalese I need to put there. So yeah, so make sure that you filled out the Google form. Make sure you're 18, so I'm legally allowed to have your information. And 3, type trans pride somewhere in the comments. Now I'm hoping that this doesn't lead weird spam bots to do strange things on the video. But I desperately want to give these charts away. Now you are more than welcome to go ahead and buy your own chart. There's nothing wrong with buying your own chart, because your money or my money goes to support the artist who originally made this art, and also goes to support lots and lots of really worthwhile trans organizations. But I want to buy as many charts as possible, so I'm hoping lots of you will comment so that I can give away as many charts as possible. So that's the first way to win a chart. The second way to win a chart is by joining me on my live D-Stash, which will be Saturday, May 29th. Let me make sure that that date is correct. It should be. Yes, so Saturday, May 29th, so a week from tomorrow. This video is going up Friday. I don't know why I do a week from tomorrow. You may not be watching this on Friday. Anyway, Saturday, May 29th at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So it's my standard live time, but I'm doing it on Saturday, partly because a lot of folks do stuff on Sundays, and I don't want to compete. And I thought about doing it this weekend, but really next weekend is more convenient for me personally. So during the live D-Stash, I will give away one of these charts as well. So there will be a keyword, there will be, I'll explain how that will work during the live, but another chart will be given away during the live on Saturday. So the Saturday D-Stash, since I'm in that now, I don't know why I'm talking so much with my hands today, very expressive. Anyway, it's my pride coming out, I guess. Anyway, the D-Stash, I don't have all my D-Stash together quite yet. Y'all know how I do. I have pulled a bunch of yarn, so there's definitely going to be yarn. There's most definitely going to be some cross-stitchy stuff too. So there's going to be an array of things. I believe I will have fabric to D-Stash. I probably will have some charts and floss to D-Stash as well. So hopefully it will be enough to go around. I have never done a D-Stash myself, so I'm not really sure. Not sure how it's going to go. Hopefully, at the very least, it will be a fun time for all of us to chat. But I do have lots of crafty stuff to try to rehome, as it were. So definitely join me for that. Again, that's going to be Saturday, May 29th. I keep wanting to say September. Saturday, May 29th, 2021 at 11 a.m. Eastern. So fabric, flosses, yarn, trying to think of what else might be in there. If there's other things you can think of that y'all would be interested in seeing in a D-Stash, let me know. Maybe I have it and don't need it anymore. But basically this will all be this will all be new or like new condition. I'm not going to try to foist off anything on you that's been used or abused or anything like that. So this will be yarn that has been away from the cats and or in packages or otherwise protected, so on and so forth, has never been used, all that sort of stuff. My fabrics I keep in bins away from the cats, specifically to keep them free from cat hair, and they're all in. You're not gonna, if it's gonna be a remnant, I will tell you, but all my pieces are fat quarters, generally speaking. And if I've already used a part of it, chances are I'm going to keep the other part because I like that fabric. So and I don't have much Aida at this point. I have given most of my Aida to, or I've D-stashed most of my Aida with Rachel already. But I may have some Aida. Most likely we'll have some linen, some Lugana. Not likely to have a lot of Jovelin, just FYI. So yeah, so that's the D stash. But the important part of that is if you want another chance to win one of these charts from D's 20 Stitches, make sure that you join the D Stash Live. I will be giving away an additional chart during the D Stash. So those are my June plans, and I am super excited, and I'm hoping that we raise lots and lots of money for all these different charities that help support LGBTQIA+ youth and trans people in general. So very, very excited. I don't even know how to tell you how excited I am, but I'm also slightly nervous because Dee wanted to know when I was going to talk about this on Flosstube, so Dee may be watching. So yeah, so those are the plans. I'm probably going to come up with more random plans because y'all know how I am. One of the new products that I'll be adding to the Etsy shop very soon will definitely be Pride themed, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. I had some plans to do some additional Pride themed things for the shop, but I don't think I'm gonna be able logistically to do it in time for June. The month has escaped me, and with shipping times what they are, I don't think I can get what I need in time for June 1st. Maybe I'll try to get it by the end of June. We'll see. We'll see. So, but that'll be a shop update thing. So anyway. So yeah, so those are plans. That's what's going to happen. And now that I've said it here, y'all have to hold me accountable, right? Okay, so I think I have one last thing for you, and then I will let you go. So I have almost no purchases. We're finally starting to see the effects of me spending somewhat less money on things. Because oh, I meant to say this in the beginning too. I didn't get to Woolly Wednesday because the week has been so busy. So unfortunately I didn't film a video for Knitcast on Wednesday. And part of that decision was because not only was I very busy, but I didn't have a lot to talk about. I haven't made a lot of knitting progress in general. And I also had nothing come in this week to share with you that's knitting related. So I do have a couple of things that I will talk about next week, and I'm really excited about it. But I just didn't have a whole lot to share. The only things I've received craft-wise are the two things that I'm getting ready to show you. So it feels weird to try to talk on a video and not have anything to say. So this video had plenty to say, and I hope you've all enjoyed this wacky ride. Excuse me, this wacky ride that today's video has been. So let's talk about fabric first. I just received my brain freeze Fortnite fabrics. I keep wanting to call them Forbidden Fiber. Fortnite Fabrics and Forbidden Fiber Co. My brain wants to just interpose them. Pardon me while I crinkle. So I got my Fortnite, not Forbidden, Fortnite Fabrics. Fabric of the month. I am part of their Expensive Rich Club. So the Expensive Rich Club is an opalescent fabric. I chose the 1/8 yard size, which is a fantastic size, and I'll explain why in a second. But I get the 1/8 of a yard. I get the 32 count even weave. This color this month is called Doll Hairs. I love their names. Their names are so cute. So, okay. This is Doll Hairs. Look at that. It's so pretty. It's a nice spring green. And of course the opalescent isn't picking up real well. But it's a fantastic color. And it's sort of like a minty green. Very, very nice. So let me tell you why 1/8 of a yard is a totally great size to purchase, especially if you're on a budget, you're trying to save costs, but you're still trying to build a stash, because you know, for some of us, building a stash is half the hobby. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to spend a lot of money to be a cross stitcher. You really don't. So I hope that I never give the impression that you have to sink a lot of money into this to be a real cross stitcher. I do spend a lot of money because this is my main, crafts are my thing. So I spend more money than maybe some other folks, but this is my thing. This is what I spend my money on. This is why I have a job. So that in order to pay, you know, obviously I pay the bills, but my free time is crafting. So this is what my entertainment is. So anyway, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. So if you're looking to build a stash, getting an 1/8 yard instead of a 1/4 yard will save you a fair amount of money, because I think with shipping it's something like $14 for this particular club, versus closer to 30 for most fabrics if you get a 1/4 yard with shipping. So it's about half the price, and it is a significantly sized piece of fabric because you can do designs like this on an 1/8 of a yard. So this is a 10-inch hoop that I am using for this particular project. Hold it back so you can see. And you can see that I've centered this, and I didn't have to. So I have centered this design, but that was because I wanted the colors to be a certain way in the background, and I didn't plan or need for this to stretch out into 2 projects. But I certainly could have used just half of this for this particular piece. So this design is something like 100 by 103, and it's round, so it should fit completely inside this this 10-inch hoop. But you can see that there's a good amount of fabric still on the outside of this. So let me show you this. So I still have, you know, far more than I need for framing on this side, and I have maybe a little bit more of the same on this side as well. So it's a good amount of fabric, and that's just an 1/8 of a yard. So if you know that the projects you're working on are going to be closer to, you know, maybe 150 by 150 or less, if you know that you're working on like medium-sized projects, and you're on a budget and you still want to get some really fancy fabric in your stash, then trying an 1/8 of a yard instead of a 1/4 of a yard can maybe be that middle ground for you in developing a stash, but also not spending as much money. Just FYI. So hopefully I don't know that that's a frugal tip specifically, but it is a way to spend less money and still develop your hobby if you want to. So yeah. Also, for folks who are concerned, this is definitely a pricey pack. $85 is much, but for dinky dyes, you know, that's standard. So dinky dyes run about $4.50 a skein retail, and this is, I want to say, 18 or 19 colors. So that's why this is as expensive as it is. And as far as silks go, dinky dyes are one of the most affordable on the market. A lot of silks run $6 or $8 a skein. And the yardages vary. These are the same amount, they're the same yardage as DMC. And the thing about it is, it's nice to have silks, but they're not necessary. As much as I love them and as much as I recommend them, it is absolutely fine. It is no less fancy or wonderful to just use the DMC conversions. You know, you can do whatever works for you. The only thing I will say is don't go with DMC because you're scared of silks. That's the one thing I will say. If it's a budget thing, that is completely between you and your budget, and I'm not going to get in between you two. But if your concern about silks is intimidation or fear of silks, don't be afraid. So I did a video a while back where I explained how to use silks. Definitely check that out. If I can remember, I'll put an I in the corner to connect you to that. But silks are just as easy to use as DMC. These particular silks are 6-stranded. So as far as how you physically use them, it's exactly the same as DMC. So you just separate however many strands that you need to stitch with, and you put them on your needle and you stitch with them just like you would cotton. So don't be intimidated. Don't not use silks because you're intimidated. If it's a budget thing, I totally understand, and no judgment, none whatsoever. Because even for my super fancy, super special pieces, this is DMC. And DMC is beautiful too. So it's really all about what works for you. So don't ever feel like you have to break your bank to make beautiful crafts. You can make beautiful crafts with whatever you have. So I don't know why I just want everybody to be happy. I don't want anybody to feel left out because they feel like they can't afford to do things. So anyway, so that was my fabric of the month. And I also got my Fiberlicious cottons of the month. And Fiberlicious is just right on the money with the color inspiration this month. So it's called Lavender Moon is the inspiration, and you can see it's a lot of purples, and y'all know me in purple. Purple is not a favorite color. It is a way of life. I have 3 favorite colors these days. My very first favorite color is rainbow. Rainbow is my absolute first favorite color, but I never tell anybody that because people get confused when you tell them rainbow is your color. But that is always, if I have options, rainbow is always my first choice. My second, but almost first choice, sort of first choice, because it's also a way of life, is purple. And my third favorite color is teal. Like teal, aqua, not aqua. What is it? Like, not turquoise. What is the other word that's like teal? Anyway, teal. Teal and purple and rainbow. Those are the things that I love. So yeah, so here is our color inspiration card. Now let's look at our colors. Here are the beautiful, beautiful colors in my shirt. I coordinated with my shirt today. I saw this color. This is just a basic men's t-shirt from Walmart, but it is such a gorgeous color. I had to get it. And then I was sad because they didn't have teal. So yeah, I guess men don't wear teal, but I wouldn't expect men to wear this purple either. This is a really, anyway, I don't really know what gender I am anymore. So these are the colors. It's getting weird today, y'all. I'm feeling myself. Okay, so the first one is Wisteria. I'm gonna hold my white arm up here so you can see the colors. This is a really pale purple. Side note about Wisteria, I have this like weird relationship with Wisteria. So Wisteria is beautiful, but it is beautiful for like one day, and then it gets thirsty and it goes brown and it's blah. So if you catch it on the right day, Wisteria is the most beautiful shade of lilac, lavender, purple. It is just like this, it just pops out of the greenery like it's some kind of magical thing, but only for like one day a year, and then it's done. And the funny thing is that I was always like, oh, wisteria, it's so beautiful. It turned out that my stepfather was deathly allergic to wisteria. So that sort of gave it this sinister kind of vibe to me once I realized that. So I don't know, wisteria is it's one of those weird things because it can be really, really, people can be very, very allergic to it, and it can be very, very dangerous. But it can also be really, really beautiful, but only for a split second. So anyway, wisteria. Okay, this color is honeyed lavender, which is funny because the bakery keeps making honeyed lavender cheesecakes because it's getting close to summer, so everything is honey and lavender. So this one is very similar to wisteria in the purple color, but it's got this like sort of creamy yellow mixed in with it. It's really nice. Next we have lavender mist. I like this a lot. Now there was also, if y'all have been following on Instagram, there was a designer who was having trouble with, I don't know if Etsy algorithms were messing with her, or what the deal was, but she was having a really hard time because she wasn't getting any views or sales or anything for like a month. And she asked for folks to help by just going to her shop and liking and saving some of her items, which I did. But of course, a couple of her charts I'm going to have to buy. I just didn't yet. But I did share all the information so that anybody else who was interested could go and buy. And it turns out that Deanna of Darling and Whimsy has decided to do a SAL with one of that Etsy seller's charts. Her username or her Instagram is Ba Meow, B-A-A, meow like a cat. That got Mo's attention. So Ba Meow, and best thing to do is go to Instagram and then get their Etsy link from there, because I can't remember how it's spelled on Etsy, but there's a lot of really great charts. She has some beautiful Celtic knots that I will obviously purchase at some point. But one of the smaller and more interesting charts is, I don't know how to describe it. It's sort of an abstract design, reminiscent of sort of the stuff that Ink Circles does. but Deanna is going to sell Sal that design. And as I'm looking at this color, I think this would be perfect. I will see if I can, we'll see if I can remember to put a picture of that particular design here so that you all can go check it out in case you want to join the stitch along or start along. That one could be a SAF, a start and finish, because it's, I believe it's little bitty, but it's very pretty. And I think that this gray purple, it's, I love the purple in this. So I'm not talking about the color, I'm talking about everything else. I'm all over the place today, y'all. It's gonna be an interesting day. Ooh, something just walked across. I don't know if that was a squirrel. I always catch things as they're moving out of view. Side note, since I'm looking out the window, there's always been a woodchuck that's lived sort of in the ravine behind our house. This year the woodchuck has babies, and they're so cute and they're so tiny. They're like half the size of the cats. They're little bitty, and it's so cute because Mama brought, she only brings, there's only ever one woodchuck in the backyard at a time, except for when Mama brought one of the babies into the yard. So we have a fenced-in yard, but they can easily get under the wooden gate. And Mama brought the baby to show the baby around, and it was the cutest thing ever. Oh my gosh. And occasionally the babies like to play in my neighbor's backyard and hide under their shed and everything. And so occasionally I get to see the babies romping around. But it's so funny because there's only ever one woodchuck. They don't come in groups into the yard, and maybe because it's enclosed and they're concerned about, you know, safety and all that sort of stuff, which makes sense. But yeah, we only ever get one inside our yard, but the neighbor's yard, which is completely open, they romp around together. It's so cute. Yeah, anyway, colors. The next one is Lavender Storm, which is also very nice. So this is like wisteria mixed with a slightly lighter gray than the last one. So this is Lavender Storm. Very, very pretty. I think the reason that I like this lavender mist so much is because the purple in that has a little bit more red in it. It's a little bit more striking, I think. And this one is called Shades of Purple, which is pretty apt. So shades of purple. So that's some lights and darks and all the in-betweens. Very, very pretty. So this has, yeah, this has pretty much all the purples in addition to an extra dark purple of all the other lavenders. So it's really, really gorgeous. So I am digging this month's colors, definitely. So yeah, Fiberlicious, y'all, Fiberlicious. Especially if you want to support an Asian American maker. Fiberlicious is the way to go. I need to get some Fiberlicious fabrics, honestly, because the colors are just so vibrant and intense. It's just really, really gorgeous. So need to get in on some of that. Well, okay, I'm just looking around to make sure I got all the things covered. I think I hit all my notes. If I haven't at this point, I'll just have to fill it in later or something. But anyway, so yeah, so that's it for me. I hope your week's going well. If it's not going well, I hope it improves. I hope you have, I'm gonna borrow this from Michelle. I hope you have the best rest of your day and weekend and everything that you can have that is available to you. I know that things are hard for a lot of folks, and I don't want to minimize any of that, but I do hope for good things for all of you. I hope for the best for all of you, whatever that looks like. So yeah, so, and as always, remember to stay hydrated, make sure to take your meds, and remember that you are enough. I love you all. See you next time.